Hey, wanna feel old?
Hey kid, I'm Poof. Well, at least I was. I changed my name to Peri, like Periwinkle.
You're welcome! The Fairly OddParents, A New Wish has returned for the second half of its first season, and they came back swinging, delivering a two-part episode that ends with the return of Cosmo and Wanda's son, the first fairy born in 1,000 years, Poof! But a lot has changed about him. He switched up his style and his name. And I'm kinda getting the vibe he might actually be a villain. Which sounds crazy, but trust me, he's giving off those vibes. We're gonna break down everything we know about the new Poof. Or should I say Peri, including his genius design, the intentional direction they took his voice in, and what his role in the next few episodes might end up being. And real quick, if you end up enjoying this video, consider throwing it a like and subscribing to the channel. No pressure though, now let's dive in. So A New Wish is a lot more serialized than the original Fairly OddParents. While a lot of episodes are individual adventures, they're still connected through some long-running story threads. One of those threads being Hazel's rival turned homie, Dev Dimmadome, the son of Dev Dimmadome, who of course was the son of
Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
You guys remember Dale, right? He was enslaved by Vicky for her lemonade stand. He ended up drinking some magic lemonade and got reunited with his dad, living happily ever after, learning to never take his life or family for granted. Just kidding! Dale became a rich a-hole, and despite longing to reconnect with his father as a kid, he's extremely neglectful of his own son, Dev. And Dev's not only a rich kid, he's like an iPad kid on steroids. He's practically raised by technology. All of this has led to him being pretty bitter and acting above everyone else as a way to cope with his crippling loneliness. Hazel, starting off as a pretty lonely kid herself, recognizes what Dev is going through, and eventually the two become friends. Dev's basically a fleshed out Remy Bucks-A-Plenty, giving him a bit more depth than Remy with a clear arc in mind. I think the similarities to Remy are very intentional. And what did Remy have? A fairy godparent who has baggage with Cosmo and Wanda. Fast forward to this mid-season premiere, and to make a long story short, Dev's desperation for his father's affection blows up in his face big time. Despite conspiring with Dale to conquer Dimmadelphia through consumerism, his father publicly acknowledges his own boots rather than his son. Founders Day gets derailed by a robot riot, and Hazel's mad at him for manipulating the masses through free swag. Dev has truly hit rock bottom. His life is in shambles. Feeling truly miserable, the universe gifts him with a fairy godparent. Not just any fairy godparent, but the one and only Poof. Or should I say Peri, short for Periwinkle.
I'm Poof. Well, at least I was. I changed my name to Peri.
I get they had to do exposition for the audience, but in the context of the show, this is the most unnatural way to introduce yourself. Also, Wanda's last name is Periwinkle, so his full name might be Periwinkle Cosmo Fairywinkle. As long as he's happy, I guess. Now, if you're wondering why he changed his name, it's because the show had to. Apparently, Poof is a slur in some countries, which is something I never knew, and it kinda blows my mind. Nickelodeon wasn't comfortable with keeping his original name, and not only did the crew behind A New Wish roll with the punches, but they incorporated the change into the story itself. Look, maybe it's because I can't help but see this show through the lens of someone who wrote on Infinity Train played a big role in creating this. The main character's name is Hazel for Pete's sake, but there's some obvious subtext to Peri changing his name. And I think the reason he reinvented himself is tied to the fact that Cosmo and Wanda haven't seen him in years. But speaking of reinvention, can we please talk about his new look? I truly do believe this design is a stroke of genius. Poof's original design wasn't anything crazy since, you know, he was a baby and couldn't even form complete sentences. Most of the time.
Yo, man, it's gonna be so cool, man. We're gonna be bumping, man.
What?
Trying to help the boys out. You know how.
That being said, nothing about Baby Poof screamed, "This is Cosmo and Wanda's kid." In fact, if Cosmo wasn't the one who gave birth to him, you already know the internet will be pushing the idea that he's Wandissimo's kid. Shit, they still are. But Peri in A New Wish? Yeah, you can definitely tell he's Cosmo and Wanda's son. His hair is an amalgamation of Cosmo and Wanda's with a small spike at the top, while the rest of it is rounded out with a wavy swirl. But his swirl goes in the opposite direction of Wanda's. It's inward, like his little baby girl. Also, his hair is basically a mullet. I feel like both Fairly OddParents and Any Phantom use mullets as a way to depict a character as cool or laid back. Timmy and Danny have both had this look for an episode. And there's also characters like Gary, who was the embodiment of everything Timmy thought was cool. Instead of rocking the classic combo of a white shirt and black tie like Cosmo, Peri wears a purple shirt, a bow tie, and suspenders, which emphasizes that although he's Cosmo and Wanda's kid, he is a different person from them, which I think could be a big part of his character arc. Instead of his wand being a rattle, he's leveled up to a walking cane. I guess they did take away the most recognizable feature of his old design, which is his eyelashes, but considering how great everything else about this design is, I'm fine with it. The cherry on top though is definitely his voice. Voiced by the legendary Eric Bauza, who also voiced Foop in the original series, he's definitely being directed to emulate Cosmo's smooth as butter season 1 voice, that suave car salesman persona.
We want to help you. We're magic. Ooh. Kid, I'll take you from Dev to Devine.
Which further links him to his dad and might be a clue to his role in the season. Peri definitely has aura, but it's the same kind of aura that Dev himself had when he was introduced. Someone who's overcompensating and, not to jump the gun, but sort of a dick. As I said in the intro, he's giving off villain vibes. Dev's life has gotten miserable enough to warrant fairies, no doubt about it. But Peri, in his current state, might be the worst possible match for him. A new witch has already been exploring how the fairy system is flawed, how fairies may think they understand a god kid's needs, only to not really listen to them and grant the wishes they already wanted to make. And I believe Peri is going to explore this idea further because, like Dev, he has daddy issues. Well, mommy and daddy issues. He hasn't seen his parents in years, and although they make it clear throughout the episode that they miss him dearly, I have a hunch that Peri didn't get that memo. I think he took them falling out of touch to heart. He thought he was the problem, so he gave himself a new name, hit up Fairy Nordstrom, and molded a new identity. And that identity might be an inauthentic cool guy, a facade similar to the one Dev possessed in the first half of the season. This is why Peri might be a villain, or should I say antagonist. A villain is always an antagonist, but an antagonist isn't always a villain. He's going to be an obstacle for Dev's growth, for his friendship with Hazel, but he's not doing it out of malicious intent. Peri might try to make Dev's life better by having him double down on his toxic traits, encouraging him to buy the attention of his classmates, pushing him to earn his dad's approval by pretty much giving him the finger with a standoffish, I don't need you to be happy approach to things, and just overall being a bad influence without realizing it. He thinks he's helping, but he's just projecting his own unresolved baggage, trying to slap the same band-aid on Dev's issues. Obviously, Hazel won't know that Dev has a fairy right away. She'll find out sooner than later, but she'll be oblivious before catching on once she starts to question his regress behavior. And all of this will be painful for the older viewers, as we're deprived of a cathartic Cosmo, Wanda, and Peri reunion, where Hazel and Dev find out about each other's fairies, Peri reunites with his parents, realizing this was all just a big misunderstanding, and they embrace his new identity with open arms. And he'll still keep the early Cosmo-esque demeanor moving forward. Though Peri reinventing himself makes me wonder, what's up with this version of Foop? Did he also reinvent himself? Is his name IREP now? Did he have a falling out with his parents? It definitely seems like there's plans to explore that in the show, so we'll just have to wait and see. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours. What do you think about Peri's new look? Let us know in the comments down below, and keep the conversation going over on Twitter and Insta at AwestruckVox and at Roundtable Vids. If you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. See ya!